Yes! Yes! Yeah! It's your boy! Clipsey fucking baby. Get back up in this thing. Hold up. Let me do right. Let me get right. Happy Halloween, motherfuckers! That's right. It's Halloween all month this month. Listen, man. We about to have ourselves a very fun, a great month. Like, it's about to be litty. It's the spooky series. Alright? As you see, I got my vibe going. Your boy out here in the Scooby-Doo. That's right. If you know anything about me, you know I love Scooby-Doo. I mean, for Christ's sake, my dog's name is Kobe Doo. You understand me? We're gonna be switching it up every so often. But as your main character, I am. You can call me ClipseyBaby. It's about to be so fun, man. I just love Halloween. I love this month in general. This fall month. This is like my favorite time of the year. For real, for real. It really is. Only because I feel like everything changes and you have the license to pretty much change and do different things. Like, I have the license. I mean, it's a bit early for costumes, but it's October. You feel what I'm saying? So there's gonna be Halloween events all month long. There's gonna be things that's going on all month long. This is like the best month to go apple picking. This is like the best month to do like those fall activities. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, there's no other time to do it. Go get your apple picking. Go get your your donuts, your cider donuts. Go get your apple cider. You know what I'm saying? Go to the the hay rides and stuff like that. Come on, man. This is a good time of the year. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just vibey. So I rocks with it. Heavy. So, with that being said, man, get right into it. Let's look at what we got on the schedule for today for the spooky stream series. Every stream is going to be a little bit different. The schedule stays the same. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, I will be streaming 9 p.m. through 12 a.m. And Mondays are going to be our main game Monday. So we are going to have some fun games that we play. I have on the list Outlast. We're playing it. We're going to get through it. And we're going to do another horror game. I have some things. Egyptian Queen, appreciate you for pulling up. We out here. Happy Halloween, man. It's starting early. We starting the spooky stream series and we getting active. So Mondays, like I said, we're doing main game Monday. So we're gonna have different games that we play on Mondays. Wednesdays is Watch Some Wednesdays. Alright, so we're gonna be watching, and that's today. Starting it off today, we're gonna be getting really spooky today. So we're gonna be watching. We're still doing our true crimes, but we're gonna make it a little bit spooky. We're gonna see if we can find something a little dark. Alright. And then we're gonna go into our folklore, some scary stories, some things like that you hear, some urban legends, things like that, and get even more spooky. And then we're gonna have some games, some reactions, some fun activities. And we're gonna get right into it, alright? So let's start the show.
Some of these cases are so unbelievable that you just may think they are from a movie script rather than real life. But each and every one of them is 100% true.
That's what's crazy about
Our
this.
first case is shocking and complicated, with more twists than you will ever see coming. This is not your typical story of murder. It is more than just one tragedy, but many wrapped up together in an almost unbelievable way. As a teenager, Sharon Marshall appeared to have the whole world open to her. She was reportedly a lieutenant colonel in the ROTC and one of the best and brightest students in her class. An undeniably intelligent young woman with a kind heart to match. Upon graduating from high school in 1986 from Forest Park, Georgia, Sharon had earned a full-ride scholarship to the Georgia Institute of Technology with the plan to study aerospace engineering so that she could fulfill her dream of working at NASA. Despite this incredible opportunity, Sharon never went to college, as she was harboring a secret.
Lord have mercy.
Sharon was pregnant during the final months of high school by her boyfriend,
It'd be like that.
who she never told about the baby.
Top of the class.
Sharon hid her secret well, and she ended up giving birth and allowing a wealthy couple from Texas to adopt the baby boy. However, the pregnancy had shaken up her life plans, and at one point, she apparently even tried unsuccessfully to run away with her boyfriend. After losing her chance to attend college, Sharon ended up moving to Tampa, Florida for a new start with a man named Franklin Delano Floyd. Despite having moved with Frank, Sharon started to date another man, and she was soon pregnant for a second time. She once again never told the baby's father about the pregnancy. This time, however, she chose to keep the child and raise it with Frank. Sharon gave birth to her son Michael Gregory Marshall in 1988. Frank and Sharon had a complicated relationship. It wasn't quite clear if it was romantic or not, but the two lived together and both provided for Sharon's son Michael. Frank worked as a painter, but he frequently suffered from a bad back, and so he was rarely able to actually work. Because of this, Sharon became an exotic dancer to provide for them, but they also began to rely on welfare checks to survive. Her co-workers thought of Sharon as kind and friendly, but she was especially close to an 18-year-old co-worker named Cheryl Camesso. Despite the women's friendship, Frank and Cheryl were known to have frequent disagreements, though there were reports that the two of them may have been involved in a brief relationship. On a weekend in 1989, Frank, Sharon, and Cheryl went on a boating trip together, where a fight broke out between Cheryl and Frank. Following the argument, Cheryl allegedly reported Sharon to social services for misrepresenting her true income as an exotic dancer. Sharon had been hiding some of the money she made to still get checks from the government, but Cheryl's call meant that Sharon no longer qualified for welfare aid. Enraged by Cheryl's actions, Frank went to the club where Sharon and Cheryl both worked and confronted her just outside the business. Witnesses reported that Frank actually punched Cheryl in the face during the altercation. Shortly after, Cheryl left her father's house to travel to stay with a friend, but when she never called her dad to tell him that she had arrived safely, he reported her missing. Her abandoned Corvette was discovered at the airport, and an investigation ensued to find the missing woman. Both Frank and Sharon were seen as persons of interest, but for years, no evidence ever arose to connect them to Cheryl's disappearance. The two quickly packed up and left the area, which only increased suspicion, especially since they started using different names as they traveled. Frank and Sharon ended up getting married in 1989, and Frank claimed it was to give Sharon's son his family name to belong to, though the couple frequently went by different aliases. They ended up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where Sharon was once again working as an exotic dancer. Sharon easily made friends everywhere the couple went, but no one seemed to like Frank, as he was aggressive and unpleasant. Reportedly, Frank once again got into a fight with another dancer Sharon worked with, and when the woman yelled that Sharon should leave him, he responded, "If she ever left me, I'd kill the..."
Oh my God.
Little did Frank know, Sharon was making plans to leave him for a man she had met at the club where she worked.
She's a hoe.
Allegedly, Sharon would have left Frank earlier, but she was afraid of what he would do to her, or her son Michael. Before she was ever able to leave, though, Sharon was the victim of a sudden accident. She was found unconscious by a highway, and it appeared as though she had been the victim of a hit and run. Frank claimed that he was asleep at the time of the accident. Though rushed to the hospital, Sharon never regained consciousness. Her friends from the club would come to visit her where she recovered, and many claimed that she was getting better, but Frank soon banned them from seeing her without explanation. 5 days after the incident, Sharon died from her injuries.
Damn, okay.
But many were suspicious of Frank's strange actions, especially since Sharon seemed to be recovering before suddenly dying. The doctor was also suspicious, and based off of old bruises he noticed on her body, he classified her death as a homicide, and even said that the head injury that killed Sharon may not have been caused by a vehicle. Though no one could prove that Frank had been the one to run over Sharon, or that he had possibly killed her while in the hospital, many came to that same conclusion, especially when her co-workers had been the ones to pay for her headstone, rather than Frank. Frank soon contacted life insurance companies to claim the $80,000 policy he had taken out on Sharon only a few months prior to her death.
Lord have mercy.
The problem was that Frank frequently used aliases, and so the social security numbers he provided never matched his name. After a few tries, he finally provided his real name, Frank Delano Floyd.
So
It was then that all of Frank's lies began to unravel. It turned out that he had quite the criminal history. When Frank was 19 in 1962, he was convicted of abducting and assaulting a 4-year-old girl, which resulted in him being sentenced to serve 10 to 20 years in prison. However, he escaped the mental hospital where he was first placed by stealing a vehicle. Frank's shocking story was only beginning, as the day after his escape, he robbed a bank and was subsequently captured again.
What?
In 1972, Frank was released, but almost immediately he tried to abduct a woman from a gas station and was once again arrested. This time, however, he paid his bail but skipped his court date. A federal warrant was issued for his arrest, but he quickly vanished and began using fake names while on the run. That is, until he finally had to give his real full name to the life insurance company. Frank attempted to flee from authorities, but he was soon captured in Georgia and placed in prison to finish his sentence. For the friends of Sharon, they felt that Frank's arrest was a way to serve justice to her untimely death.
Well, yeah.
During this time, Frank had reportedly given Michael to social services before he went on the run, and Michael was soon put into the foster care system, where he was placed with a loving family. However, everyone was shocked by the little boy's behavior, as he appeared to be nonverbal and would only scream and moan to communicate. Frank insisted he was Michael's father, and so the child was frequently brought to visit him while incarcerated. When Michael showed hesitance to visit Frank, a DNA test was eventually performed. Even though Frank initially resisted, it was discovered that despite what Frank said, Michael was not his biological child, and so the visits were stopped. But this shocking story doesn't end here, and it was far from over. When Frank was finally released from prison in September of 1994, after serving 4 years, he started stalking Michael and his foster parents in Oklahoma. He knew he would never be given custody of the child, and so he devised a plan to take him. On September 12, 1994, Frank showed up at Michael's elementary school and demanded to see the principal, James Davis. When he wasn't allowed to take Michael, Frank pulled out a gun and threatened Davis. Michael was finally collected, all without alerting anyone at the school, and Frank forced the principal under gunpoint to take the two of them to an area a few miles from the school grounds. There, Frank tied Davis to a tree, leaving him unharmed, and fled with Michael in Davis's truck. When the abduction was finally known, a frantic search began, but it would take 2 long months for anything to be discovered. Frank was found in Louisville, Kentucky, and arrested, but there was no sign of Michael. Even after extensive searches, there was no trace of what had happened to the little boy, and Frank refused to tell anyone. Talking about Michael to the police, Frank stated, "It's none of your business where he is, nor do I care how much any of you in Oklahoma miss him or love him."
Lord have mercy.
The first of many twists was revealed during Frank's trial for kidnapping Michael. In 1995, skeletal remains were found covered in vines in Pinellas County, Florida.
Lord have mercy.
The remains weren't immediately identified, but an investigation determined that the victim had died from a beating and 2 gunshot wounds to the head.
Damn.
Later that year, a mechanic in Kansas purchased a truck at an auction, and inside he found a large envelope filled with 97 photographs depicting a woman who had been beaten and bound. The truck had once been in the possession of Frank Floyd, who had stolen it while he was passing through the area in 1994, before eventually abandoning it. The photos were compared to the unidentified remains, and a wound to the photographed woman's cheekbone matched one on the recovered skull. The skeleton was soon named as belonging to Cheryl Camesso. Frank was convicted for kidnapping Michael, who still hadn't been found, but was classified as missing, and he was consequently sentenced to 52 years in prison. He then went on trial for the murder of Cheryl Camesso, where he was found guilty and sentenced to the death penalty. But the photos uncovered in the truck revealed something else even more shocking, bringing to light another twist in this case.
What the
The
hell?
pictures also showed Frank assaulting a young girl, but these images were much older than the ones of Cheryl. A search began to find the identity of the girl. This is where the case took an alarming turn. It wasn't until 2014 that Sharon's true identity was officially uncovered.
Oh shit.
To find the truth about Sharon and the pictures, we have to go back.
Oh
After
shit.
being released from prison, and while he was on the run for attempted abduction, Frank got married in the mid-1970s to Sandy Chipman. At the time, he had used the alias Brandon Williams, and so Sandy hadn't known who he really was. The marriage was far from romantic, especially as it had begun with them tying the knot at a truck stop. Sandy had 4 kids at the time, and she herself didn't have the cleanest record. She left her kids in Frank's care when she had to spend 30 days in jail after being caught passing bad checks. When Sandy was finally released from prison, she found that her house was empty and her children gone.
What the
It appeared
hell?
that Frank had taken them and moved. It took Sandy years to figure out where her children had ended up, but she eventually found 2 of her daughters, Allison and Amy, living with a social services group. Despite this, Sandy couldn't locate her oldest daughter, Suzanne, or her son, Philip. Her son was eventually found when, as a grown man, Philip came forward and had a DNA test to reveal that they were related. Frank had put him up for adoption, but what happened to Sandy's oldest daughter is even more shocking. Sharon Marshall's real name was Suzanne Marie Savarkis, and she was the daughter of Sandy Chipman. In a truly alarming twist, Frank had taken Sandy's children and split them up over different social services groups, but raised Suzanne as his own daughter. Frank and Suzanne moved frequently and across several different states. Frank told many different stories to those around him about how he had come to care for the young girl, but in most, he claimed to have rescued her when she was abandoned by her parents. At this time, he was calling her by the alias of Tanya Hughes. Yet by the time that the young girl graduated from high school, she was going by the name of Sharon Marshall.
What the hell?
It turns out that Sharon was kidnapped as a child by Frank, her own stepfather, who raised her, frequently assaulted her, later married her when she was an adult, possibly killed her, and then kidnapped her child after she died.
What?
It was a twist that investigators found too unbelievable to be real, and yet it was true. Also revealed in 2014 was that after almost 20 years of lies, Frank finally admitted to what many had suspected by this time, that he had murdered Michael by shooting him while on the run. He had hidden his body along Interstate 35, but an intensive search didn't reveal anything. It was later concluded that Michael's body may have been eaten by wild hogs in the area.
Jesus.
Frank Floyd was never found guilty of Sharon's murder, though popular consensus believes he is also guilty of this crime. To this day, he refuses to talk about Sharon's death. Frank is still awaiting his penalty for Cheryl's murder on death row. Our next case is no less shocking or tragic.
Hold up. What? So, hold up. My mind is in a blender right now. So he kidnapped his stepdaughter, raised her, impregnated her, killed her, kidnapped his son? Or was it... It's his son. That was wild, right? Was that his own son? Or was it her son? With the other dude, because she was a hoe. Oh my God. It was the... I think it was the other dude's son. Either way, he took her son and then killed him? Okay. Yeah, I guess it was his son, right? Exactly. That's his son. Oh my God, bro. Yo. Man, and this is 100% real. This is why this is like, this shit is crazy. Like, these people out here in this world are wild.